Hi, it's Trav from Paddle and Portage Canoes, talking canoe design and how those design features affect performance. Rocker is the curvature that a canoe has from end to end, and rocker is a feature which gives you maneuverability. Lots of rocker, very maneuverable. Not much rocker, better tracking. This canoe is a whitewater canoe, which is it's a type of paddling which requires lots of maneuverability, and this boat has a heap of rocker from end to end in a very short canoe. Whereas a very long canoe for touring, maybe for straight tracking, might be a longer boat without much rocker, which helps it track straight and is better for those greater distances. Now this is generally speaking, keeping it very simple. If you remember nothing else, just remember that long boat equals quick, shorter boat might equal slower. A long boat gives you lots of glide. So imagine you take a stroke, and before you take your next stroke, the boat continues gliding beautifully. Whereas a shorter canoe, you take a stroke and you stop paddling, that boat might be inclined to stop. And so a longer boat equals more glide, more efficiency, and overall you could say safely, more speed. Generally speaking, a boat with lots of beam is going to feel more stable because width equals stability. However, a lot of width can also remove a little bit of glide and speed, so a narrow boat might feel a bit quicker even though it could be less stable. There's two types of stability. A flat bottom boat might have lots of what's called primary stability. When you get in the boat, the first feeling you feel is stable, comfortable. However, that may not be the best thing for safety because a boat that has primary stability can only sit on the water when the water is flat. And if the water is not flat, it doesn't sit on it well at all. Secondary stability is how well a boat can sit when it's on its edge. And ideally, the safest boat is the one that has lots of primary and secondary stability. Now, freeboard is the term from the waterline to the top of the hull. And freeboard is one of those features that is a bit of a double-edged sword. Too much freeboard makes you quite wind prone, and a boat can be affected greatly by wind when you're out on the waterway, whereas freeboard's beneficial properties are that it protects you from waves, especially if you're in whitewater. Now, both of these canoes can be paddled in moving water, but you'll notice that one is solely intended to be in moving water and it has a lot of freeboard. Whereas a boat with a decent amount of freeboard will offer you protection from those waves without having so much freeboard that the wind can basically manhandle you while you're paddling. Flare is a hull feature where the boat starts out narrower, ends up wider at the top. That is gives the boat an ability to shed water when it strikes a wave or to ride up and over waves. And a highly flared hull such as this one would be useful in whitewater, where it will hit a wave and go up and over, resulting in a drier ride. Whereas this boat is a touring canoe with a little bit of flare, which means that it will travel efficiently through waves while still going up and over them and encouraging water outside the boat. Tumblehome is when the canoe ends up narrower at the top than it started at the bottom. And that gives a boat width at the base of the canoe, but a perception of narrowness that you can still paddle inside the boat without knocking your knuckles on the gunnels while you're paddling. The formula for volume is length times width times height. So a longer canoe that is slightly wider and a bit taller will naturally have a greater capacity than a shorter boat without those features. If you are looking at traveling in shallower waterways, volume and its capacity of a canoe is important to consider because an overladen canoe will experience an increased level of what's known as draft. Draft is the term from the waterline to the bottom of the canoe and how deep that feature is. So a canoe that is overladen will have a lot of draft and not be able to travel in those shorter waterways. If you have a smaller canoe, you may be able to travel in those same waterways, but the boat will need to be unladen in order to do so. Nothing.
Oh, you stopped just in time.